Okay, Carrie was sitting with that. 2 more chairs. Okay, then we're good on chairs. Okay, so Dean's going to sit up there, so we only need 1 more chair seat. Oh, I get it. Most didn't have to
No. Yeah, we're talking about Russia. Russia.
At the time I went, it was a little bit.
No.
Yeah, there's some. What a disaster that would have been. My fault, baby. When I do presentations, I was
It's like I always spend a lot of time in this electric.
Sure.
I love it.
You got two letters. One more in a way that's very intimidating. I think it's like a
They had like temporary way
You didn't realize it was a BYOC environment, did you?
None of the staff did nothing. We need to it's just it's outside. It's outside. That's not a giant. Either out with the I'm Chelsea. Nice to meet
Good evening. Good evening. Hi, good evening. I'm Colin Crawford. I have the pleasure of being the Dean of the Law School, and it's a great pleasure to welcome all of you, one of the best credentialed classes that the Bowen Law School has welcomed in its recent history. So welcome. This is also our 50th year. You are coming at our 50th year. So you are riding a wave of great success that has been building and growing over the decades. And that is not just idle chatter. Of the 7 justices of the Arkansas Supreme Court, one of whom you will meet this evening, 4 are Bowen graduates, and I might note that 3 of those 4 are women graduates of the Bowen School of Law. The current U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Arkansas, a very prestigious federal position, is a Bowen graduate. We have graduates who occupy the highest positions in law and government, both in private firms and in public service throughout this state and well beyond. I could go on about people in Washington, D.C., or, for example, we have a relatively recent graduate who is, I'm told, was a star when she is here, who is now a Fox News commentator out of New York. Anyone here had a David's Burger recently? The mastermind, I see lots of shaking head, the mastermind behind that business is a Bowen graduate. Anyone been to Tzatziki's recently? Also run by a Bowen graduate. My point here is that there are opportunities for you in law, but applying these legal reasoning skills elsewhere. Now, before I turn you to our honored guests, I do want to say something about how you use your time here. And I want to encourage you after your first year, especially your first semester, you want to keep your head down and study and master the skills that you need to be a successful law student and a successful lawyer. But beyond that, I really hope that all of you will take advantage of many of the opportunities that we have to offer. We offer clinics and experiential education opportunities that show that we punch well above our weight compared to much bigger and better resource schools. Please explore those. Moot court, trial advocacy opportunities, law journals. The different ways that you can participate are manifold here, and really blessed by the fact that we're located in the state's capital city, so that in addition to these experiential opportunities, once you get through your first year, you will have the opportunity to explore a wide range of different, often paid internship opportunities from big law firms, small law firms, public offices of all kinds. And so really explore the richness that is this school. Now, I do want to, in conclusion, say something about our 3 values. You will know that Bowen celebrates that we have 3 central values: access to justice, public service, and professionalism. So what exactly does that mean? And I think it's important, first, let's think about access to justice. Partly, it is about the obligation of a lawyer to serve those who have lower resources. And so our clinics allow you to do that, to represent low-income clients. And you can also do that even if you're earning a very big salary. You can take small cases. That is important in expanding access to justice. But there are other ways to do this as well. Bowen has something called the Rural Incubator Project for people who want to return to areas that are underserved with legal services. And we have a recent graduate, in fact, who moved this week with help from this law school and a generous gift from the Arkansas Bar Foundation, has moved with his family, his new infant child and wife, to Calico Rock. Anyone from Calico Rock or nearby? Probably. There you go, to start a practice there. And so again, keep your eyes open for these opportunities, because we are trying to serve the state in as many ways as we can. As for public service, there are lots of ways to serve the public, right? When we hear that phrase, we often think, well, that means I have to work as a public defender or as a prosecutor in a government job or for a nonprofit. And those are great ways to perform public service. But there are many other things that you can do as well. A very prominent Bowen graduate is a partner, a very powerful partner at one of the biggest firms here. He's a litigator. He's also been the advisor, as the French would say, the éminence grise, the man in the background to 3 Arkansas governors. That's a very important kind of public service as well. Another graduate Never practiced law once. He was he did the degree that we offer concurrently with the Clinton School of Public Service. And he was one of the 3 founders of a bank that has been a major engine for economic opportunity and expansion here. And so once again, please ask. We can put you in touch with these people if you want to explore career options that may seem less than traditional. And then finally, for professionalism, and for all of you today, this is very, very important. Your career as a lawyer, not just a law student, but your career as a lawyer begins today. Now, you will know that we sometimes use the phrase attorney at law along with lawyer. Well, the root of that word attorney is interesting. It actually comes from, I'm going to go a little bit nerd on you for a second here. It comes from a Middle English word to a verb, to attorn, which, and I teach property, so it actually had a very particular relevance in property law as a kind of service. But it came to mean then a servant at law. That expresses very much what each of us, and I mean us now, even though you are coming to law school, you have 3 or 4 years ahead of you before you take a bar exam and get a license. But in my book, you all begin as lawyers today. And you have to think of yourself as having this service obligation, not only to your clients, but also to the bar, to the larger community. That's what part of being a lawyer is to attorn, to serve at law to the best of your ability. And there is no greater need for lawyers who are committed in a dispassionate way to serve today than there has been in our recent history. And thinking about this, I really want you to reflect on how building your reputation also begins today. And I have a special warning for the younger members in particular of you who are sitting here, and that's with respect to your social media. Please go and look at things you post. Be very, very careful. I'm sorry to say that we've had some very talented students who were seeking very prestigious jobs, and the employer called me later and said, "Dean, I really wanted to hire X, but then we went and looked at some of the Instagram posts, the Facebook posts, whatever it is, and we really can't." So think twice before you post, because employers and the people, and not just employers, but the people you will work with will begin to look at that. That's what it means to start to be a professional. So with that, those are my welcoming remarks. Thank you very much for joining us today. And now I want to turn and go to the business of the evening. And once again, the pins that you are going to be asked to affix, if you give a look, they celebrate our 50th year. So please be sure that you note that. Don't put it on. That's her job, not mine. It's now my great, great pleasure to introduce to you a great friend of this school in so many ways. Justice Rhonda K. Wood is not an Arkansas native. She came to Arkansas from Iowa to attend Hendrix College. I met some Hendrix graduates coming in here. I know they're scattered throughout this room. And probably like many of those Hendrix graduates, she studied political science here. She then came to study at the Bowen School of Law, graduated in 1999, started to practice in Conway. She just couldn't stay away from the Bowen School of Law, came back in high-level staff and faculty positions until she began her judicial career. Now, Justice Wood was appointed by Governor Mike Huckabee to the trial court in 2006, and she was subsequently elected to that court. 6 years later, in 2012, she ran for a seat on the Arkansas Court of Appeals, our intermediate appellate court. I hope some of you were at my introductory lessons. You remember those 3 levels of courts. Oh, actually, we have 4, but leaving out the district courts. She ran for a seat on the Court of Appeals and won that seat unopposed. And in 2 years later, she now Justice Wood ran for the Arkansas Supreme Court, was elected to that seat without opposition, and has served there since. She is also, as I said, a great and generous friend of this school. She and her husband have been generous donors of the school, and she helps us in so many ways, including accepting my plea every year to come back and deliver this pledge. Finally, I just have to say, and she and I were just talking about it, you should go listen to this. She's one of the co-hosts of the podcast Lady Justice. And even for the men here, you should go listen to it. She has some great guests there. And I was just saying, I think we're in need now of a 6th season. There were 5 seasons of it. So go to your podcast feed and look up Justice Wood on Lady Justice. So without further ado, let me introduce to you, with great thanks for her presence, Justice Rhonda K. Wood.
Thank you, Dean. It's always a privilege to be back at Bowen. I deeply love Bowen. So there's many of the faculty here that I had as, I won't say because it ages me and them, but so I won't call them out, but I had some of the faculty and a lot of the faculty I had as colleagues and the administrators. And I am an advocate for Bowen. At some times I probably anger my colleagues because I'm such an advocate for Bowen, because the secret, and I think it's live stream, but oh well, we walk out of oral argument and we go back into the little robing room where we take our robes off before we go back to go to conference. And just to sort of grade those that graduated from, apparently there's another law school in the state of Arkansas, but I will say something, and if it's a particularly good argument, I'll go, that was a Bowen grad. And because they'll say, like, that was a really good argument. I'll go, that was a Bowen grad. And then they just sort of roll their eyes at me. But so it's fun. And I promote Bowen all that I can. Bowen changed my life, both as a student in how it received me, welcomed me, taught me the law and really how to be a better person. And then also just by what it taught me being a member of the faculty here and as an assistant dean really changed me from a professionalism standpoint and led me here to be on the Supreme Court. So I would not be here today. I'm now completing my 19th year on the bench, which is kind of crazy for me. And so full circle moment to be back at Bowen, because I think about sitting in the seats that you sat in, and I was nervous. I was not from a family. I'd never met a lawyer before, didn't know anything about the law, was very intimidated by some of my colleagues that were sitting around me. I always say that there was a student that every time they spoke in class, I'd write the words down and go home and look them up because I couldn't even understand. And he wasn't using legal words. It was sort of philosophical words that I just couldn't even understand what he was saying half the time. So anyway, that's just part of the intimidation factor, that if any of you feel that way, erase that. You all are here equally. The school, not that I watch this on Netflix. If you've ever seen the Love is Blind show, the school sort of selected you through the Love is Blind process and thought all of you were equally worthy to sort of become lawyers, and they accepted you. You accepted Bowen. You guys matched, blindly to each other, and equally so that they believe you're going to be successful lawyers. And so every one of you is just as worthy as the other one, and you all come in here equally as a clean slate to start the process. So I'm here to sort of talk to you about professionalism before we take the pledge. And so my sort of three, there's lots of sort of qualities you need to have as a lawyer. And I echo the dean that lawyer sort of reputation and everything starts today. 3 main qualities that I sort of want to emphasize tonight are integrity, public service, and promoting confidence in the judicial system, and that I think are critical. So first and foremost is acting with integrity. And that is part of your professionalism, both in school and throughout your practice of law. That is how you treat and interact with everyone that you come into contact with. If you haven't realized already, all of your family think that you are now a lawyer. If they have not called you for legal advice, then they probably will by tomorrow. And so everyone sort of considers, that because they know you're a law student. And so you have to refrain from giving legal advice. What I would say is that I would refrain from giving that legal advice when you do become a lawyer to a family member. That's just a word of wisdom. You may say there's some restriction out there you've heard of. But anyway, so you will have, if you think about it, you will have people's lives, their family, their fortune, their land, everything potentially in your hands. And how you act is not just about being honest with them and about taking their case, about how their likelihood of success. It also is in your ability to handle the case, to put forth the time, that you have the time and the ability to commit to their case. Everything that you do along that line, that you will spend the time researching and preparing for that case. And so the same comes true in law school. You've committed to law school, so you now have the integrity that you are going to follow through and do the things that are necessary to succeed in law school. If you think about it, for every one of you are here, I believe from talking to the dean, this is one of the record application years. So I would shudder to guess, I would say at least 5 students are not here. For every one of you are here, probably roughly, from my understanding of applications. So the integrity to commit to the legal education process, recognizing that there are 5 other people that would have gladly taken your spot for each of you. Because I think it was well over 1,000 applications, I believe, or something along that line. So the integrity to that, the integrity on how you conduct yourselves with each other, that you are helpful to each other, that you are there for each other if each other are having struggles. The same is true that you learn that behavior now. I don't necessarily think everybody naturally acts with integrity. Unfortunately, that may be my experience for many years. But I do think it's a choice and a decision. And so learn it now, because interacting with each other now with integrity is how you have to act with professions, attorney to attorney, acting with integrity. And it's real easy to sort of lose a reputation. You can lose it in an instance. It's really hard to gain it back. And your colleagues will be your colleagues in the practice of law for the next 50 years, if you think about it. And so how you treat each other now, you will remember that down the road. I look at my colleagues, and so my colleagues have been chief of staff to the governor. One of my colleagues was attorney general. They've been in all sorts of government, everything under the sun. And we all remember how we interacted with each other. We remember who helped each other in law school and who didn't, who was kind to the fellow student in need or who not. There are things that I don't even remember. Some student told me that I ran into her and she said, you had a baby shower for me in law school. I had a baby my 3rd year. I don't even remember having the baby shower. I was really, really busy. And I said, oh, okay. But people randomly reach out and were like, I remember you gave me all your notes when I was sick. And those things matter, and how you behave. But I also tell the story, and this is, a little bit about integrity, and some of the law professors here worked with Professor McClurg, but he was a stickler about time and an expectation that you were on time for class. And you were not ever late for class. And eventually, if you were late too often, he actually locked the door and would not let you in. But there was one student that was prolifically late to class in torts and eventually did not get to be allowed back in. And so prolifically late, and sort of always knew that. But what happens is you never know where your career takes you. So I was on the trial court in Faulkner County, and it just turned out that I had 2 attorneys in front of me who both were my colleagues and were in my law school class. And I called a case up, and they both show up, but there's actually a 3rd party in the case, and there's another law person that is not there. And I call the case and I said, has anybody seen, and I say the name of the student, but the lawyer, I say, has anybody seen this person? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, call bailiff, go out, this and that. And then finally the other 2 attorneys, they're like, Judge Wood, can we approach? And I said, sure. And so they approach and they come up and they said, do you remember torts? And I was like, I remember torts. And they're like, do you remember who was late every day to torts? And I was like, oh, and I had not seen him since law school. And I was like, it's that? And they're like, yes. I was like, okay. And I was like, you guys have time? And they're like, we have time. So they wait. And I was like, well, let's just wait. We'll call a different case. Sure enough, 15 minutes. He comes in and then he comes up and he's like, you know, Your Honor, this is why I was late. This is that. And I was like, was that the same reason you were late to torts every day? And like his face just went white, and they just kind of, gave me this look that it's like your reputation in law school carries over. And so it's sort of, he sort of lost his integrity with me from that, just from us being in law school together. So your integrity matters, how you interact matters, and how people see you as lawyers matters. You will get tired of all the lawyer jokes that you hear, but your behavior will either promote those lawyer jokes or will help break down the barrier of those lawyer jokes. So consider that and treat each other well and act with integrity. The second thing is the dean mentioned public service. You are in a profession that requires public service. You will take part of your law license requires that you do public service. This is one of the things I love best about our profession is that we are not just a profession that we choose to do to just gain for ourselves. It is a legal profession that is a privilege, and is a privilege we get to do because we get to help others and you get to give back. And it doesn't matter if you choose to do that full time, or if you choose to go into an area where you are making money privately, you still have an obligation to find a way to give back. One recent year, we had attorneys report their hours, and it was over 100,000 hours of pro bono service that they gave back. And I don't say that lightly. It matters what you do with that. So it doesn't matter whether you help someone who works in janitorial services and you help them with a Social Security issue, and that's your case. Or if you do something larger. So a couple examples I always give are, a lot of you have heard about Gideon versus Wainwright, which is the major case that if any of you studied that in college, if not, you'll study it in law school, that afforded every criminal defendant with a likelihood and possibility of jail the right to a defense attorney appointed for them. But Gideon landed in jail without that attorney, and he was in prison, and he wrote the United States Supreme Court a handwritten letter and pleaded his case and asked for counsel and asked for help. And who was appointed and accepted it was an attorney in private practice, Abe Fortas. And he accepted it, took it on pro bono, and changed the landscape. So there's a lot always out there about Gideon, and Gideon's Trumpet is the book if you want to read it. There's a movie. But not just Gideon, but Abe Fortas being there to say, yes, I'll take that on for free, and change the landscape of how criminal defendants have this extra protection in our system today. And the other example is sometimes you're like, well, we're in Arkansas. What am I going to do in Arkansas that could be that life-changing? And so I always talk about Mr. Stuckley, who went to Mariana High School, and then he got drafted to Vietnam. And he went to Vietnam, served time. After the war, got back, came to law school, non-traditional. And then when he got out as a new lawyer, he went to legal aid and did that as his profession. He was a young lawyer, less than 2 years out of law school. And he filed a case that said the juvenile court system in Arkansas was unconstitutional. And back then, the way that juveniles were handled, they went in front of the county judge. If you were juvenile, charged with delinquent acts or families in need of services, dependency, neglect. And his argument was these juvenile defendants need to be in front of a judge that's an attorney, and need to have attorneys that are licensed representing them. So here he was, non-traditional, small town in Arkansas, war veteran, fresh out of law school, and he took this case on and he won and declared our whole juvenile court system unconstitutional. And so that was someone who just had his commitment and passion for public service. So, But equally so, like I said, it doesn't matter that I've helped out and done free legal work for someone doing janitorial services in the building when I worked at a big firm. It was just as important to that person's life that I helped them for free with their Social Security. So it doesn't matter what you do, you make an impact in the system. But that's your job, and that's part of your commitment, and that's part of what makes our profession great, is that we do that. And that leads into the third sort of component, which is promoting public confidence in the justice system. Now more than ever, that is your role. And again, because you are already part of our legal profession as a law student, is that you have a duty to promote confidence in the system. And so we want everyone to challenge the system. And that's okay. There have been tremendous strifes in our system. There have been tremendous injustice in the system. And we have sort of had to lockstep, step together. Sometimes we've had to fight each other through the court system to overcome challenges. There are challenges we haven't overcome yet, whether that's civil rights, equal rights, any of the issues. The court process in the legal system is how we want change to occur. We don't want change to occur through chaos. And so your job is to educate about how change happens. And it's okay to take to the street and protest legally. It's okay to fight with legislation. It's okay to argue and advocate for or against legislation. But also to make sure that we're promoting that we have confidence that the justice system will prevail, and that we have confidence that we will do everything we can to support a justice system that can prevail. We do not want a justice system that is undermined, because if you think about it, that's how we want conflicts to resolve, right? You want conflicts to resolve in the legal system that you have decided you want to be a part of. You've made that decision. You've made an enormous commitment to be part of that system. And so now you get the choice to say, I'm going to do everything I can because I'm going to be part of this profession, and I'm going to promote it, and I'm going to do what I can to work for it. And you guys don't have to all agree, and it's okay. And the system will be better if you don't agree with each other. And the system will be better if you engage and learn now how to listen to each other, how to engage with each other, and how to promote and conflict resolution with each other. Because then when you're lawyers, you're going to be even better. Because what I'll tell you is your clients are not all going to be like you, right? The opposing side are not all going to be like you. And the judges, they're definitely not going to be like you, right? There's going to be really difficult judges. There's going to be really difficult opposing counsel, and you're going to have really difficult clients. And so the sooner you learn how to work with all those different people, the easier your job's going to be when you're out in the legal profession. So I encourage you to sort of take those opportunities now and engage and promote and work together. And I guess I'll ask the faculty to sort of plug yours, but you'll have difficult faculty. And the faculty, they're going to have difficult students. But the sooner and Professor Silvershine's like, what? But the sooner you learn to engage and react and work together, that's going to be a better system. And I'll say that. I mean, I have had to work with difficult people, and it's okay, but we're going to make the system better. And so I just challenge you to sort of think about that today, because you are in the legal profession today. So I'm going to encourage you to act with integrity, to again, commit to public service, and then commit to promoting confidence in the public judiciary and the system that you've chosen now as your profession and made a commitment to. And so with that, I really look forward to, and hopefully, depending on how long you take, 3 to no more than 6 years, according to ABA, to swearing you in maybe as a member of the Arkansas Bar at the Supreme Court. But for now, we're going to take a professionalism pledge whenever the dean says, I don't know if you're doing it right now. Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys all to stand and get your pledge, your little pin out. raise your right hand. You're going to repeat after me. I pledge as follows. As I begin the study of law. At the William H. Bowen School of Law. I acknowledge that I am entering a profession. With unique privileges and responsibilities. Accordingly, I pledge. To maintain the respect to the law. And legal institutions. And to my colleagues. And my fellow students. And faculty. And the staff at Bowen School of Law. And all of whom I engage. I commit myself to service. Without prejudice. Integrity without compromise. And to civility and professionalism. In all my interactions. I pledge to perform. To the utmost of my abilities. In education. I will strive to be worthy. Of trust and respect. I will represent the legal profession. As one of justice. Honor. Civility. And service. This pledge I take freely. And upon my honor. All right, congratulations.
Once you've attached your pins, please be seated. So I have one final very happy task tonight before we move on to the reception, and that is to introduce you to our absolutely outstanding faculty. We have a faculty that is not only very accomplished in many ways and often models the kind of public service we've been talking about, very smart, dedicated individuals, people who know the law they're going to teach you inside and out, and also, and this is not characteristic of every law school in the United States, extremely student focused. So I want to introduce them to you. I hope you've looked over the roster of people you'll have, so as I point them out to you, and I'll ask them to stand when I call their name, you will note who they are, and if they have time to join at the reception, I hope you'll go up and introduce yourself. So I'm going to start in the back row. First, in the back row to my left, Professor Terrence Kane. Next to him, the newest member of our faculty, just started a week ago. Please remain standing until I've called everyone. Professor, I know you want to sit down, Professor Kane, but Professor Taylor Farr. Next to him, Law Library Professor Harry Law. The director of the Law Library, Professor Melissa Surface, Professor Anastasia Green, Professor Terry Day, welcome back. Nice to see you. Haven't seen you for several months. Next to her, also one of our newest faculty members joining us in the clinics, Professor Felicia Branch, former dean and Professor Terry Beiner, Professor Joshua Silverstein next to her. Going down in the next row, Professor Robert Steinbach. Next to him, Professor Pat Harris. Who's next to? Next to him, the director of our clinics, Professor Kelly Terry, Dean Kelly Terry, excuse me. Professor Kristen Minton next. Professor Michael Flannery. Professor Beth Levi. Professor Kelly Bro Olson. Professor Michael Geiselhart. And going to the final row, Professor Christine Wama, Professor Laura Bates, Professor Caroline Bach, Professor Jeff Woodmansey, Professor and Director of the Veterans Legal Services Clinic as of this week, Zach Baumgarten, and finally, Professor Lindsay Gustafson, who is also the Associate Dean. So please join me in thanking them for making the time to be here. And And as I say, they will welcome having you come and join them. I also can't let us go without thanking the people who not only have helped make tonight possible, but have been in charge of putting together this week, and this is important for Bowen, that we began with a day of service. And I know all of you were at Dunbar Middle School putting down mulch and putting up bulletin boards, and that's something a lawyer can do to it. It doesn't always have to be in the law. But I want to acknowledge those people. So first, the Dean for Student Services, Regina Grochon, our graduate, by the way. Molly McNulty, our Director of, losing my mind, Advancement External Relations. Rebecca's not here, is she? Rebecca Nugent, who's been key to this week, is also in the Student Services Office. Felicia Weaver, I saw her here, our Director of Communications, has been central. And last but absolutely not least, the outstanding Chief of Staff in the Dean's Office, Maura Webb. So I just want to thank all of them as well. So that's it for our pinning ceremony. Once again, great thanks to Justice Wood for joining us again. And we now have a reception for you in the main floor of the Law Library. To get there, you just go out into the hallway and take that first big right as you come in. So congratulations again, and see you in there.
Working a little meter line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
If you have a website,
Yes, I am from
Oh.
Yes. Up by the airbase? Yes, I actually grew up on the airbase.
so do that. Carry them around.
I almost missed her because because you're small.
Yeah, I was trying to hide in there. Oh, it's so
We're gonna call him.
I don't know where Frank
So I want you to these people, whatever. If you don't plan on staying in Arkansas or whatever, you're going somewhere else, it still can help you because you'll get references. I mean, you much.
Yeah.
hey, I'm a managing partner of a law firm, then like, it's just inviting each other.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing is, you know,
It's cool. I'll give you
you know,
Okay, like
It
Sam.
sounds like I work for difficult people.
Sam.
I'm John.
Yeah.
Okay, he, like,